Hey, welcome to the Tim and Gugabe podcast. This is your host Tim Gugabe. We have been very consistent doing this. This is like a record probably.
I feel like early days. Actually, yeah, it's been pretty good too. We've managed to string together when no randomly had anything else, so it's been good.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna talk. We'll recap last event, go over Luque RDA, and then the Contender Series is on right now. We kind of have it on in the background, so you guys can comment on that. Like I sent this link out late, so I doubt we'll have many live viewers. But if the four people watching, if you want to talk about the Contender Series too, we can do that while we're going. But let's talk. Let's recap the previous event. Well, here I have to go back to it.
So I'm talking fun.
Yeah, I mean, Sanhagen's a better grappler. Was he going to go to it? Did you know for sure? He's been wrestling more lately, but like I would say, now I think after this and the Vera performance, you kind of have to take it as a serious possibility. But just doing it to Vera one time, I wasn't sure if he was gonna always do it again. But I don't know how the feet would have went. I feel like it probably would have been competitive, but he had a big grappling edge. He covered the line because of that and going to it, alone.
The funny thing for me is Sandhagen claims, "Oh, I was injured, so that's why I went to the wrestling." And it's just so because you were hiding a major injury, you decided to minus 2,000 the guy. It's just from any sort of predictive point of view, it's insanity. Where it's just oh, because I was hiding a major injury, but that's what made him minus 2,000. What?
Yeah. Yeah. It was. I'm not that mad at him for doing it, and
take the win.
Yeah, take the win. I'm up for it all day. I get if you're a paying customer and you don't watch the UFC like you and I do, or people watching this channel. I could see how you could be annoyed, but from I don't know, the people watching the show and stuff, we're just kind of interested in outcomes and I would say more matchups and whatnot. But from an entertainment perspective, if you lived in Nashville, barely watched the UFC, I could see how you're a little annoyed, but at the same time, can't really blame Sanhagen. Honestly, I think you have to blame Font more than anyone because it's he's the one who didn't have the takedown defense to stop him. It's one guy decided to go to that path and was good enough to do it. The other guy wasn't good enough to stop it. Suarez Andrade. I mean, I'm getting torched on Twitter by you and some other people for thinking. I thought it was a good performance by Suarez. I thought it was really, really good. A lot of people seem to think she's lost in athletic gear. I don't think she was ever an athlete to begin with. I kind of disagreed. I went and watched her Esparza fight. That is what she does. She chains together a lot of different takedowns, and she has a really good top game and just a chain wrestling game. Against Andrade, she shot an ankle pick. Andrade had no idea what the fuck it was. She does that front headlock series, which she did to Montana, and I originally didn't think her performance against Montana was very good, and I kind of had agreed with you for weeks when we talked about that fight. But then when I rewatched for this fight, I was actually more impressed. She uses that front headlock very well, and I don't think many girls can stop it in women's MMA. And then she also shot that shot, which I put on my Twitter feed, where she shot on a sprawl and then used her right leg to kind of get the angle to pull in the single leg and take Andrade down. So those are three entirely different takedowns, and she landed all of them. I just feel that type of takedown diversity, who's going to stop that? I mean, her and Zhang's going to be competitively aligned, assuming Zhang even gets by Lemos. I maintain Suarez is going to run through her. I don't. It's just she's now finished 3 champions or very easily. Esparza, she dominated Grasso, and she dominated Andrade. I don't think Zhang's going to stop her personally, and I'll be playing her. In any competitively lined fight, I'll be playing her. I know you weren't as impressed as me, but what do you kind of think overall?
I mean, I think she's lost in athletic gear. She's still good, don't get me wrong, but
I don't think it matters though, because her wrestling's better than everyone so much. And like, she never was a great athlete to begin with. Like, you never looked at Tatiana like, oh, she's a great. I never thought that about her. You know.
I feel like she used to have like another degree strength wise. Like, there were spots in the early fights where she just kind of hossed people, and it's just like now it's a bit more technique related. And even like, I just don't see like the takedown in round 1 against Andrade was like, all right, I understand from a wrestling technique point of view that was good, but like I just don't like how shitty the fucking shot was. Like, yeah, like she made the best out of the shot she took because she's a good wrestler. Don't get me wrong.
She's never had a good shot in open space. Like, what she does is she crowds you up against a cage and gets a hold of you and starts chaining like front headlocks, getting below you. And she always does that little cut the corner with her leg. She did that to Esparza too. Why I thought Nina was a tough matchup for her. Like, who loves Tatiana more than me? Not many people. I thought Nina had a good shot of winning that fight before, and everyone was surprised I said that because she circles away really well off the cage. Like, Tatiana likes to kind of push you up and have that cage to then, get her angles going. And all these other girls don't do that. Like honestly, who do you pick, Zhang or Tatiana? And sorry, I'm cutting you off, but into your head, who wins?
I mean, I'm not as confident as I would have been Suarez a couple of years ago, put it that way. I think she still has great tools to beat Zhang, but I don't know, I just, something about the athleticism just freaks me out a little bit, but it's like, Zhang is just stupid athletic, and like, again, I can definitely see how Suarez just puts one on her ass and fucks her, but like, a couple of years, like, after the Esparza fight, I would have said Suarez minus by 400, that kind of stuff. Now it's more just like, I think like Suarez, like, small favorite, like, it's one of those fights too where like whoever won that fight would look minus 5 billion. Inevitably. Like, just how it plays out. Either Suarez completely embarrasses her on top, or Zhang just takes off down the stretch and puts 5 billion strikes on it. Like, it just is how that fight would work out.
I just think if you like don't even like think about the matchup specifically. You're taking a women's MMA girl and saying, I know she's a great athlete and everything, but she was like out wrestled badly by Rose Namajunas, and like it, like what's? I think it would be much more shocking if she just had answers for all the wrestling of Suarez and easily stuff the takedowns and was fine. I think that would be a lot more surprising, like, than Tatiana just going out there and dominating. You know what I mean? Like, I just like if you, I don't know, if someone told me Zhang won and I didn't watch the fight, I'd be like, really? Where like Tatiana, I would just be like, yeah, no shit. A girl from China who'd never wrestled before, she stepped over a fucking wizard against Tisha Torres and ended up on her back like an idiot. She doesn't know how to wrestle. Like, and but the thing is, like, I've always I will say, like, I always have, I generally keep my emotion out of it. I do think I've always, like, thought Zhang was a little overrated and went after her a little irrationally at times, but, and like, I've come to terms like how athletic she was, especially over the last 2 fights. And I would pick her over almost anyone for those reasons, but I just think Tatiana is the only good women's MMA wrestler we have. Like, Esparza is okay, but she's not that great of a wrestler. It's just everyone else is terrible. And Tatiana actually knows how to wrestle. I think it's going to be, I think she's going to maul her personally. Like, I think it's going to be dominant, and like she'll probably get a sub at some point, or just completely dominate her and overwhelm her. Like, I don't think it's going to be competitive. I don't know. I just like, yeah, go on.
25 minutes spooks me a little bit for Suarez. Like, again, maybe she gets a sub. I feel that's one of those things where, like, if Suarez fights Zhang, it would probably be either a very quick sub, and everybody's like, minus 5 billion. And it's kind of a, like, I get your point. I do agree Suarez favored, but I just have this, like, it just feels like alive that Zhang just hit some stupid moment of athleticism or something. It's like, even the Esparza fight, like, fucking Zhang pulled that out of her ass. Everybody was acting like, the reverse crucifix.
No, she got a crucifix. What was it again? It was off a she got reversed from a Peterson.
Yeah.
A Peterson is where you basically are under someone, you have their leg, their back, you roll. Esparza won the scramble, and then, like,
just ridiculous, stupid.
She basically clenched her knees and turned it into a reverse crucifix, and then she choked her out with a rear naked choke. It was the dumbest. like that was not impressive by either girl. Like I was like, that was sloppy shit. Like she's not going to get bailed out doing that against Tatiana, you know? And also, I will say, Esparza is a fine wrestler. Tatiana is way better, like we saw it. And Tatiana is a way better submission grappler than Esparza. Like, has Esparza ever even won by submission before? Like, I don't think so.
She TKO'd some people from memory. She fucked up what's name, Jan, didn't she?
I see where people come from.
This she shoved Rose the first time.
I think people give Suarez way too much shit on her cardio for like one time, because every other fight, like against Esparza, she didn't slow down at all. And also, Zhang doesn't know how to get up when taken down. Like, Nina knows how to get up and knows how to resist. Like, she actually does the right things off her back. Zhang, like, just go watch her versus Rose. She doesn't know how to get up. The only reason she got up from Esparza was because Esparza let her up. I don't know. It's like my most anticipated fight. I really, really hope. I really want Zhang to beat Lemos, but that fight is kind of sketchy. Like, because Zhang's shin has always been a little, like, she's been hurt and knocked out before, and Lemos is like maybe the hardest hitter in that division.
Yeah, I agree. Again, like, Lemos will have her opportunity to do whatever she wants the first 2 or 3 rounds. Again, like, yeah, Zhang's price is stupid. Like, the only way she wins it. Like Lemos held
Zhang's more well-rounded. I would pick her, but I still think I think it's a competitive fight.
I think like Lemos plus 150 or whatever. Like, I think Lemos has massive holes, but I just don't think Zhang is the one to take advantage of them.
I also just feel like someone who actually can hit harder, like she probably hits harder than Zhang on a one-shot basis. It's probably pretty close, right? I would probably say Lemos, but they both hit hard.
Yeah, Lemos hits way harder. If it was like, straight right, I'm pretty sure Lemos' punching is stupid. Zhang is kind of like, Zhang needs either like accumulation or like clinch work usually.
Yeah. I'm pumped for the fight. I have a feeling it's going to be very closely aligned. There's going to be a lot of people on the shadows on Tatiana. Then there will be the Zhang has like a fan base like Peter Yan. Like, everyone thinks she can breathe fire and shit, you know? And like, I don't think she can. And I don't know. Tatiana has never, like, she's only lost like 1 round in the UFC to Nina. And that's like it. And everyone only focuses on that 1 round about her cardio. Like, other than that, she's never slowed down. Like, Carla Esparza, it was the greatest performance in the history of women's MMA, I think. That singular performance, would you say?
Yeah, I try to think. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, top 3 or so. Because I think, yeah, definitely. Because like, I feel like you can argue like Zhang, Joanna too, or that kind of stuff. Like, I suppose like for pure grappling, that kind of stuff.
I still respect Zhang. Like, you know, she could land something big, whatever. I just feel like I trust the world champion level wrestler over the very athletic girl who's pretty well rounded, but she's shown wrestling holes bad. And this is a different level. Like, it just is. Like, she hasn't faced that before. But it's a great fight. Like, I'm really, really excited for it, and I respect both girls. But I think Tatiana just will do her thing. All right, we'll keep going. We talked about that way too long. Jacoby kind of just like landed a big shot on Kennedy. Lopez Tucker. I gave out like 5 picks for this. I hit 3, missed 2. I gave out Tucker. Like, I'll take the round winner and generally, and he's never been subbed before, and he just kind of got subbed. It is what it is, you know.
I feel like people have these outlandish takes on this because it's like with guard subs, like Tucker kind of landed in like 80% triangle, and then Vince, like, it's a lot easier to finish in that situation than people like. It wasn't like people acting like Tucker was in his guard for 3 minutes and then Lopez like just like cleanly process subbed him from bottom kind of a thing, like from a sort of set guard, which is not really what happened. Like, people were comparing it to Chiesa last week, and I'm like, I mean, like, Tucker, I'm not saying Tucker was absolutely his best, but there's nothing in that fight which makes me say prime Tucker doesn't get done like that. I just feel like that there's like a 5 to 10% chance that Tucker gets guard subbed regardless, and we just happened to get that one. I don't think it really was that indicative.
So this fight, like playing guys who probably need to sub from their back at a high rate to win is not a good idea. And if you think about it, if you played Hadley and Lopez, you lost money. You know, like if you played both of them, they were both like minus 200. It's like, yeah, of course some of them are going to happen, but some of them, like, that's not a positive EV play in my opinion. But like Lopez will be minus 200 versus somebody coming up just like Hadley was, and he's going to get controlled, you know, like it's just like he's going to lose by a decision, like pretty somewhat clean. Bahamas can't wrestle. Phillips was just.
I mean, I think that wasn't. I mean, the wrestling definitely made a difference to Klein, but also just Klein came out, hit him for free a bunch of times. Yeah. My thing there was just like the fact Klein actually pulled the trigger was the main thing. Like I kind of saw the path, but I was like worried Klein would just decide to stay in the back foot and just like lose the fight for no reason.
It looks like Klein's had cancer in some fights, and then it looks like he's like Mason Jones. He surprised me too. He was like a little more aggressive this fight again too, and then like Trezano, he looked petrified, and Trezano's not even that good.
It's kind of funny because it's just like after every fight for Klein, it feels like the market just does a 180 on him. Like he's gone from minus 200 to plus 200, minus 200. Like just look at this odds history. It's like every fight, depending on how his last fight, people like flip between here's the worst fighter to ever fight or like here's the greatest fighter in the world. Like there was no in between, and it makes no sense because like he's okay. Like he does some high roll kind of stuff. It's like he's gone from minus 130 to minus 235, minus 390. Oh, that was after Trenzano. Massive dog a few times. Just I don't know, market cannot decide how good or bad he is, and I just feel like he has kind of like a high volatility style.
Let's go over. That's pretty much the whole card. We've been on it for too long. Let's go RDA. Luque. I haven't really thought about the fight too much. What are your kind of opinions overall?
I think RDA just does a bunch of stuff Luque doesn't like. Like Luque does not like southpaws. Luque does not like being grappled. Luque is coming off internal hemorrhage or he's supposed to have after meal, which is a bit of a concern. And like, I don't want to get huge on RDA because he's old and like, you never know if this happens to be the one where he finally rocks up and just doesn't look great. But I kind of think it's going to be like the Felder fight or something like that. Just where it's just, I just feel like there's enough. Luque just can't get up off his back consistently, and I just feel like it's a good chance. Like an RDA minus 500 can come through grappling, while like a Luque minus 500 requires like RDA either being compromised or just like some sort of Luque wins the dick measuring kind of thing.
Yeah, it seems like a close fight to me. Like I think like RDA should be able to get some takedowns here and there, but Bilal Muhammad like landed 5 takedowns and only got like 7 minutes of control in 25 minutes, and Luque started resisting to a degree. I think it's going to be a bit like that. It's like I think RDA will have pockets of getting takedowns, but probably won't be able to control them easily. Like maybe like a minute here, a minute there, and then it's kind of like, will Luque then do enough damage on the feet to overtake that? Bilal did a really good job. Like Bilal just fights smart every fight. He did a good job of like moving laterally, not really being there. I think Vicente could probably have more success on the feet against RDA than Bilal. So I kind of think this fight will be a little more competitive, It's really like how much damage does he do in those moments? That's what it's going to come down to, in my opinion. I think it's really close. It'll be like probably it could be one of those like Bronstetter fights, like control versus damage, where like a round of 2 minutes of control for RDA versus like maybe Luque landing a little bit more impactful strikes. But I think it's going to be close. Like, I don't think RDA is just going to completely dominate with the wrestling, but I do think he will like win a round or two with it. And yeah, that's kind of what I expect.
Yeah, that's very much my take. I just think the wrestling upside and southpaw upside means RDA minus 150 or so would be fine. Yeah. Like, it's hard to see how Luque really looks post whatever. Because like Luque's career has been kind of weird. Like, there's a bunch of Luque had this hot streak coming into the Muhammad fight, but like a lot of it was just like very like Nico Price was beating him for minutes. Randy Brown is Randy Brown. Woodley, and then Chiesa just kind of absolutely shit the bed for no. Like that was just stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's whatever. Swanson and Dawadu. I think Dawadu. It's kind of like Phillips Barcelos last week, where I'm like, if you look at the metrics on the feet, it could maybe be competitive, but you got to go with the younger guy. And like
I think Swanson's a lot more cooked than Barcelos was.
And just for him to even look more shot than he has is a possibility. Where like Dawadu will probably look what he is, And that's what I thought of Phillips and Barcelos. Like Barcelos, I was like, can maybe keep it competitive, but he could just like look over the hill. And Swanson may look more over the hill than Barcelos. Like, I will say though, like, I think you got to go Dawadu, like you and whatnot. I will say, like, Dawadu doesn't knock people out often. I don't even know if he has like a knockdown in the UFC. I don't really know.
I'm pretty sure he put an absolute beating on. He's fucked some people up. It's just like
yeah. I'm not saying he's like pillow fisted, but he's not like a top finisher. Like he's not like a huge hitter. And anytime Swanson is like stayed in a fight, he does like throw a shitload of volume and generally lands like over 100 significant strikes. Can kind of stay competitive. So that's kind of my main concern. Like it's like if you're playing Dawadu, he probably won't. Like he most likely won't finish. He could, but I'm just saying like there's a good chance it goes to the cards, and in that instance, it might be a little competitive. So that's kind of my concern, but I still think that minus 200 is fair.
I mean, I can see the path for Swanson. If like Swanson and his best rocks up, then kind of forces a war. I could see that, but like again. Dawadu's finishing this man. Dawadu should absolutely destroy it. Like the issue with Swanson is he's been finished he's been either finished or badly compromised by body and leg work 3 times his last 4. Darren Elkins is the only fight where he hasn't been like fucked by body work. Even Karen Gacy was hurting him to the body.
Yeah, Dawadu should just go to leg kicks and body. Yeah,
like Martinez leg kick TKO'd him with 7 leg kicks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and Dawadu, my thing is like, obviously, Martinez fight was at bantamweight, which is a fucking weird decision by Cub Swanson. But like we've seen Cub Swanson completely fucked after a round of leg kicks, like against Pineda and against Martinez. Like Pineda gave away the fight by gassing even harder than Swanson, but like his leg was gone.
Yeah.
So Dawadu could just TKO him off like 20 leg kicks. Like this is a rare situation. I don't usually play big juice, but when I saw this go to minus 200, I was just like, well. How does Swanson actually like coherently win this when like he like comparing him to Barcelos here is silly. Like Barcelos probably lost a step, but probably is like half a step down from where it was and just doesn't really have that much upside. But like Swanson is just like seems fucked. Like he lost to Giga and Giga sucks.
I do
like
think that
Giga is like top 55 heavyweight.
The Rosa
I agree. The Rosa fight was a bit, but like back takes.
But it's way different. It's back takes. Anna Rosa's like 6 feet tall. Dawadu actually has a reach advantage here. So it's not. And Swanson's not gonna grapple. So I generally agree. I kind of want to sit back. If it got like under minus 200, then I'd be like, all right, like maybe I should take a shot on it. It's minus 200 to 230 right now. I'm not as like intrigued with that, but he's a rightful favorite. Dawadu. The thing is, if that Arosa fight didn't happen, Dawadu would be like minus 400.
Yeah, I agree. That's also my point. Where it's like, also I like the under here, just so I feel like Swanson is pretty reliable to force something, and then once, I don't. Swanson will come for Dawadu. Dawadu was shown he's quite chitty in the first round. And I don't think Swanson can survive coming for Dawadu, like over any sort of real stretch. Like Swanson has been badly hurt by like 5 leg kicks in 2 fights lately. So like Dawadu will land like 50 leg kicks. So like this doesn't seem like productive. Like I love Swanson. I made a lot of money in the past, but I just think like the Doohoo Choi plus 200 against the unproven underdog spot was 7 years ago now.
Yeah.
Like a perspective is like I was on that spot 7 years ago. It's like he's essentially 40. He's a featherweight. Like he's done.
Roundtree and Daukas, like weird fight. Daukas is making his 205 debut, right? Is this his first fight down there?
There's 205 for Daukas, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Like, if Roundtree gets pure striking fights, he's all right, but he's still not that great. And I don't know. Like, I guess I'd maybe favor him on the feet. Thing is, I've never been that high on Roundtree. I don't think he's like that great. And even like in striking, he got outlanded like by a lot against Jacoby. Daukas, I don't. We have we even seen Daukas go like 15 minutes before? That's the thing. Like it's like one first and second round every time. So I don't really totally know how to project a 15-minute striking fight here because like every fight, yeah, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1. Like that's how many rounds he goes every time. He is apparently like a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, but he's never landed a takedown or attempted one, or he's never even landed a takedown in the UFC. So I don't. Roundtree's not very good on his back. If you're new to MMA, like he's pretty awful, like when he gets taken down. But I don't really know if Roundtree will do that. Just seeing Prochnio beat him by just like pressuring him, beating Roundtree like that, just makes me like not want to play Roundtree at -174, and because he doesn't have the best ground game. But I've never been high on Daukas either. I don't. It's kind of whatever. What do you think? It's a really random fight.
I think Price is about right. Like, I just think Daukas kind of had a miracle run. I think going from a heavyweight striker coming down is not particularly good, particularly when like Daukas was kind of the speed and sort of a rush striker at heavyweight. Daukas does not like leg kicks from memory, which I think I'm happy to just put Roundtree at -175 off sent you for leg kick upside. I cannot for this fight, to be honest. Like, it does seem like a very random booking, but like I just feel like Roundtree a bit faster, has a leg kick back up, both same shit off the back. Just Roundtree -200 just seems about right to me. I'm fine with that. Like again, like comparing it to Prochnio, but like Prochnio actually has elite volume in a striking fight. Like
he'll go for it too. Yeah.
But he'll throw like 150 strikes. But, like people don't do well at heavyweight. Where it's like Daukas doesn't really have that. And I played Prochnio back in the day, but I was like +400 versus +150, and like I think that Daukas just is not very good at MMA. Like I think he just had like this miracle run up at heavyweight against guys who probably should have beaten him.
Yeah, he was undefeated going against Derek Lewis. I picked Lewis for the upset there. I was just like, this guy is just knocking out a couple people, and I'm like, I don't know how good he is. Fair enough. Viana and Lucindo. I don't really know what to think of it. On the feet, I would probably favor Lucindo, but I don't think it's like a beating. I would maybe mildly favor her. And she's a better wrestler probably, like with takedowns, but she's been submitted 3 times on the regionals and she's super young. Like she was literally submitted when she was 16 years old because I think she's 21 now or 20 or something. We can look that up, but she's like 21 or 22. All her subs came like 5 years ago and she was like literally like 16 years old. I couldn't find the tape on it, so I don't really know. That gives me pause as a favorite. Like if you're -200 and you've been submitted 3 times and I don't know what you look like Viana, it does have a dangerous guard. Like, she's not like the best fighter, but she has that. And Viana does like hit sneaky hard on the feet. Like she can kind of hurt people, but I do think Lucindo has better process. Like I probably favor her as a volume striker. I probably favor her as like more likely to get takedowns. Viana probably won't even try to defend, but it's like how likely is a submission? I don't really know. Lucindo's been submitted 3 times, but it was when she was like 16 years old, like 5 or 6 years ago. I'm sure she's improved to a degree being that young, but she's also very young and very unproven, so it's like what the key to the fight is like how often does Viana get a sub? It's hard to know for sure. So it's kind of a little goofy. Do you have similar thoughts?
I think Viana could actually be quite good if she just was not an idiot. Like she's way too comfortable going to guard. Like if she just didn't go to guard, she actually has a bunch of decent tools.
Yeah.
Like I think she's a plus striker for the division. She's a reasonable athlete, that kind of stuff. I think like the Ricci fight, like she arguably beat Ricci off her back. Like that was very close. And like Ricci's now like a top, like 15 strawweight sort of guard control lamprey kind of specialist. So like that has aged pretty well. It's just but the issue with Viana was just way too happy to play fucking guard. So it's just hard to if I knew Viana was actually going to pursue get ups, I feel like she would be competitive. But yeah, it's a tricky spot. Like, what's
It's
Viana?
weird because it's like I know Viana has those subs, but Hannah Cypher's also controlled her for 4 minutes on the mat, you know. So it's like, could Lucindo do that? Maybe. It's a tough one. I really think it comes down to the submission defense on top of Lucindo. Yeah. Honestly, Lucindo should just strike, and I think I would probably favor her a bit on the feet. But Viana isn't awful on the feet. She's all right. She's kind of hits hard, but Lucindo is probably the better round winner, and I generally lean towards round winners. But yeah, Tafon and AJ Dobson, I kind of think there might be value on Tafon, but I don't like that he's been knocked out several times. His losses have aged really well. It's like Olberg's good. He was beating the fuck out of Murtsakanov, like dominating him. And then you just got memed. And then was the other one Park?
Yeah.
That was a really competitive fight. And then he just kind of got out hustled at the end. There's not really much fault. Like, I don't know. And then all his wins, he's dominated, you know? And Dobson on the feet, I favor Tafon as a round winning striker. His metrics are better and whatnot. Dobson could kill him. Dobson might have some wrestling upside, but I think he's more like an athlete than a wrestler. I don't. Tafon can kind of defend takedowns and work up. Like the lines really come in. I honestly think there might. I think Tafon's being a bit undervalued in general because it's like coming off of 2 losses. Like people might think he's terrible, but it's like whatever. It's Olberg and Murtsakanov who he was dominating. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. It's like, what's a Dobson win? A random knockout or out grappling? I kind of don't think he'll out grapple him, so he might be knockout dependent, and it's almost an even money line. Do you kind of see where I'm coming from?
Yeah, I mean, my concern with Tafon is that like how he looked against Olberg, he just looked really weird. He just randomly came out and was like BJ Penn stance, and he just like. Again, I like Tafon's attributes from other UFC fights a lot. Like he's got incredible work rate for a guy who's that jacked.
Yeah.
So like that alone, like I'm pretty sure he should take over down the stretch. I don't think Fletcher's necessarily going to beat him in round 1 of that sort of play.
He's a better round winning striker for sure. You know.
Oh, his work rates, and for a guy who is that yoked, I'm pretty sure he's thrown like 100+ strikes multiple times, or like he's landed 100+ strikes multiple times in his wins, and like that's good for a guy at middleweight, light heavyweight. Yeah, against Pickett, he put up 234 total strikes. Against Rodriguez, he put up 240 total strikes.
Yeah.
Like, that little shit wins fights versus AJ Fletcher AJ Dobson just being kind of gassy and mid. And, I'm pretty sure if Tafon keeps pushing that pace, like, eventually Dobson will wilt. It's just like, I think Dobson's little win is pretty limited, just a big bonk or something. The main concern I have is the Olberg fight. Looked weird, but from memory, I think it was a really quick return from getting knocked out by Asmar. Again, he's beating Asmar pretty clearly. That was a very annoying outcome.
He was dominating him, completely dominating. It's weird. For some reason, I thought Tafon was 38 years old, but he's 28 or 29. And I was like, what?
It looks like
isn't that weird? He was born in 1994. That totally. I'm gonna double check because that I had to look at it again and I was like, what? Yeah, October 14th, 1994. He's 28 years old. That's
just have those faces.
What the fuck? It literally looks like he's 39 years old. I just assumed he was. Dobson's older than Tafon. Which is I don't know. But yeah. What about? I don't know. We're not talking about a Jamie Pickett fight on here. Any other fights you want to mention? Dulgarian and Marshall's very interesting. It's hard to know what it should be lined, but Dulgarian is a very, very accomplished high school wrestler, and he also is a D2 runner-up as a true freshman. And, if you're a D2 runner-up as a true freshman, you're D1 level. He could have probably All-American for sure. I'm guessing he went he had one of the best Kansas high school wrestling careers ever. He had the most wins ever, 3-time state champ, and he had the most takedowns ever. So he's very accomplished. You know, he could have easily went D1. I'm guessing he didn't have the grades, but like, that's usually what happens, like John Jones. But it's interesting though, because we haven't seen any, like every one of his fights is him instantly taking someone down and just like auto finishing them. We haven't seen like his cardio, his striking, anything defensively, his chin. Marshall's like overall a pretty good fighter. It's just we haven't seen Marshall's defensive wrestling. So like there's two blind spots in each fighter's direction, so it makes it a little difficult. But Dulgarian looks like he might end up being like a top 10 fighter, but who knows? You know, he might not. Did you kind of think
it's tricky because like I think Marshall's cardio is very, very good. It's like, it's like I don't think Marshall's necessarily the most skilled guy.
It's a lead. Yeah.
He just has like his Merabs, or not Merab, but like he has like a great gas tank, and it's like I get the Dulgarian enthusiasm, but I just feel like the chances are with Dulgarian only having been 3 minutes against a guy who just seems to have ridiculous cardio, which just means that like there's a chance that Marshall just exists to them.
I basically wrote it up this way. I was like, I'm pretty sure Dulgarian is probably the better wrestler, just like because on paper he is. I'm like, I think it's fair, but it's like Marshall is more proven in every other area of the sport, so it's kind of tough. But like either guy could, like if you look at like Topuria Zalal, their debut, Topuria was like plus 150, and then like in hindsight he should be favored, you know. And we didn't really know what he was. Like we knew he was an interesting prospect, and it turned out that he should have been favored. And that's kind of the same thing could happen here, but usually people aren't title contenders, you know. So yeah. But
I think Marshall.
I'm probably most excited for that than any other fight on the card. Not even to be hipster, it's just a good fight.
I think Marshall would. I think Marshall has some decent upside himself, which is my major concern. Yeah. It's just like, I think this. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, if this was Dulgarian against some guy, I'd be like a bit more like, all right, whatever, I'll take Dulgarian kind of thing. But I just think Marshall has like some very good attributes of his own. Like, it's possible he just gets stuck on the bottom, and then like the cardio doesn't matter because Dulgarian just sits on top of him. But like, I don't like taking a guy with question mark cardio against a guy with great cardio, because it's just like cardio is one of those few sort of situations where it's like my thing is like in MMA, there's like two things where somebody will be hindsight minus 5 billion, which will be either because they have a massive cardio edge or because they have a massive top wrestling edge. Like those are the two scenarios where like you really like feel bad about taking a shot. Where like, well, fuck, that guy was plus, it was minus 5 billion.
I honestly think best case scenario is Marshall just kind of beats him up by being more developed, and then we'll probably get a good price on Dulgarian in like his next fight, you know? Because like there's not, I mean, at 145, there's plenty of guys to get out wrestle, you know? And
sure.
I did talk to Grant Dawson about him because he used to train to him, and Grant and I talk, and he said he's really good, but like you don't really know like what that means, like because the gym's a lot different, and just like a fight, putting every skill set together is a lot different, like, you know. But he said he's trained with him a few times and that he was like really impressed with him, and that like everyone he talks to who still trains like in that area, because he was at Glory but they all split, say he's really good, but who knows. I don't really, we're gonna find out. But I actually have to go, so I'm gonna end this a little bit early. But I think that's everything. We'll talk. I'll send out for next week. We'll do it Monday next week, and hopefully, you know, so people can like join and stuff, and people are aware. But that will be for 292, which is O'Malley and Sterling. So that'll be a good one.
Yeah, makes sense.
Cool. Thanks, you.
Thanks, Leslie.